Hi, it's Erin and Simon with Assets and Arbitrage, and today is going to be international banking. A lot of you guys had questions about international banking, and Simon has a really good show put together for you guys today.
Okay, so this is still part of the flag theory, the
Mhm,
five flag theory, right?
mhm,
And basically, if we want to do a rundown, the theory is residency, citizenship, banking, assets, okay, and taxes. And there's a sixth theory that somebody has postulated lately, and I agree with it. It's called cyberspace. So we may get into that one day, but we've been getting a lot of emails and feedback about international banking. So that's what we would like to talk about today: international and offshore banking, your options, what it is, and the best way you can deploy a strategy that works for you best.
mhm. So one of the things we want to talk about with international banking is that it is banking with borders. So it's not permissionless like Bitcoin is permissionless, borderless. It's one of the things that makes Bitcoin so attractive. International banking is traditional finance. So we want to keep these things in mind as we are making decisions about banking internationally. Each country's bank is going to have its own set of rules. Often Americans think that every single bank in the world is FDIC insured, and this isn't true. So
Mhm.
you really want to do your due diligence with
Mhm.
the banking of the country of your choice.
Yeah, so one thing we talked about in the show before was FACTA,
Hmm.
Foreign Account, what is it? Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act. I
Hmm.
always get it because there's another one called FACTA about fair trade, but Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act, right? And that has made it harder for U.S. citizens to bank because the compliance for the foreign banks and the penalty if they do not comply almost doesn't make it worth them taking you on as an account.
Hmm.
So one thing I was reading last night, they want to say that if you do have a foreign account and you are a U.S. citizen, you want to have two of every account. If you got foreign bank accounts, you want to have two of your accounts. If you got a business account, you want to have two of them. And if you have personal accounts, you want to have at least two of them. Because what's been happening is they've been just closing U.S. citizens' accounts, right? Without any notice, without for no reason, no rhyme or reason. They just close your account and give you back your money. So if you're banking outside of the country for business reasons, you definitely want to have at least two business accounts. And one of the things that I also noticed is that if your bank account is, how would you say, if there's not enough funds in it, we'll put it at that, right? They don't also want to take you on as a customer. There was a time where you could go to, I don't know, Panama, Costa Rica, $500, you get an account, right?
Hmm.
Now there's different limits. I'll tell a story. I went to Colombia to set up a bank account, and the bank manager came out and talked to me, and he was pretty much telling me no. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, like, we really don't want. He said, "How much money are you talking about?" And it was like $9,000. And
Hmm.
then it changed. It was like, oh, okay, well, come into my office. And they set me up, with a bank account, and it was no big deal, as far as, but it was just a matter of you putting your U.S. dollars. Also, I had cash, so I was putting cash right into their bank.
Hmm.
So, like we say, outside of these borders, it's hard to come across U.S. dollars sometimes. So when you have actual physical U.S. dollars, that's valuable. That is very, very valuable. But in this situation, see what international banking, because we in this community is Bitcoin, we're looking for permissionless, borderless, but it's still a necessary evil,
Hmm.
right? You got to be able to fund your account. You got to be able to do these things. You got to be able to move it. If you need to take profit, you need to be able to put it into your account. Now, understand one thing: because the banking is not like the U.S. banking, you cannot tie your foreign bank account maybe to your Coinbase account or KuCoin or whatever exchange you like to use because of AML, and KYC, right? You can't. We live here in Mexico. One of their bigger banks is Banorte,
Hmm.
so we can't have a Banorte account tied to Cash App.
Mhm.
They won't let you do it. It has to be, has to be a bank um, that shares your citizenship. So then, these flags, they are just kind of guidelines, but a lot of them, run in together, right? Because like we said, now if you have your passport portfolio set up, then that gives you more options with your international banking. So that is a big deal. If you get your second passport, then you can easily get that second bank account. You don't have to worry about FACTA. You don't have to worry about IRS and all the reporting and all the compliance. So say you get a second passport and I don't know, Germany. Okay, you got a passport in Germany. Now you can bank in Germany easily because you can use that passport to get your bank account. And then, just like I said, with the passports, the different passports have different laws for the banks. So if you're a German citizen, you can go to the UK and have a different experience banking than if you were a US citizen. Right, so that's why having a passport portfolio is important, and it also will enhance your international banking.
It's also the reason why when you watch those movies with very rich people and they flash the safe, the cash, the precious metals, and the passports,
and the gun,
and the gun, right? They do. They usually have a 9mm Glock inside the safe, right? But when they show you that, they're showing you that you're able to move freely about the country, or you're able to move freely, literally the planet, right? You can go anywhere you want to. You have the freedom of a citizen in multiple countries. And we always talk about freedom, but that's also a psychological freedom, right? So these are strategic ways to move about the world that you live in. There was one other thing I wanted to say when you were talking about offshore banking. They typically want a good amount of capital to deal with you. Okay, we have a offshore account. It's a great account. It is with the British Isle of Man. You have to have a minimum of $6,000 in there, point blank, period. Right? If you even begin to move under that $6,000, it could be $5,997. They want to close your account if you don't resolve it within 24 hours. One of the other nuances I just want to mention, and I'm gonna let you move on, babe, is remember that when you have these international accounts, you're moving within time zones. Meaning you may have to make a phone call at 2:00 in the morning, Cincinnati time, because your bank is 6, 8, 10, 12, wherever it is, hours ahead, right? If you have a bank in Luxembourg, I don't know what the time difference is, but it's going to be significant. So you want to keep those things in mind when doing business internationally. That was it, babe.
Yeah. And that's an important thing to remember because not only are you moving across time zones, the days change, right? If you got a time zone moving forward on you, and you have some kind of, like she said, you have a deadline or something to meet, you got to understand it may be, if you got a bank way over in Asia, it might be, it's 12 hours ahead at least. So it's a whole nother day. So you got to keep your days in mind. Like if it needs to be done on the 1st, then you're thinking the 1st is tomorrow. But in that banking situation, the 1st is today. So, that is a very important point because you are moving across time zones. And let's reiterate this. These international bankings, stable government, right? Try to use a stable government. When she mentioned the British Isle of Man, that's a stable government. So that you don't have to worry too much about that. I told you some things about the country of Georgia and Armenia. They're smaller countries. I'm not saying their government isn't stable, but sometimes these smaller countries' government can change on a dime. Just a new president, a new leader comes in, and all of a sudden, now we got a problem. I told you the story about Michael Saylor. Argentina is a relatively stable government, but they pulled a fast one on him for the most part, and then just took about 90% of his capital. And that's a lesson to be learned. I would say, don't put more in these international banking starting more than you're willing to lose down to zero. It's kind of like investing, So if you want to start a bank account with $1,000 and you want to put it in this offshore bank or this international bank, if you don't mind losing that $1,000, right? Nobody wants to lose $1,000, but don't put your life savings over there. Don't overinvest because things can happen if you don't understand the law, especially if it's banking in another language. You got to really be careful. And we talked about that getting involved with lawyers. Especially if you're dealing with another language, because it's one thing to know the language, but then when you got to know the language in legal speak, it becomes very, very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And so these are things to consider. You want to take these business trips. If look into these other countries. I'm gonna read off a list. Let me grab my notes here real quick. I'm gonna read off a list of some of the top banks for American citizens as of now, regarding FACTA. So what they're saying here is, well, you go ahead. Let me try to find it real quick.
The other point that I had wanted to make is we talk about time zones, but we also have to talk about holidays, right? So we just celebrated Memorial Day. Nobody else celebrated that holiday. Canada didn't, Asia didn't, South America didn't. So this is why we tell you guys traveling is really good, because Americans, and I'm sure everybody does, and I'm talking to us Americans have a way of living in their own little world, and they think that the entire world operates the way their world does. It doesn't. It absolutely does not. And you're able to grasp a much larger world view when you start to travel. You begin to understand business has to be strategic, because we may have a 1-day holiday.
Mm-hmm.
Asia may have, they're off for the entire week. That bank is closed all week long.
Yes.
And you can't get whatever done that you need to get done. It's going to be frustrating for the A-type U.S. personality.
Mm-hmm.
This is ridiculous. It's a business. You guys should be open 24/7. No, ma'am. Right? A lot of countries outside of the U.S. do not have 24-hour customer service for finance.
Mm-hmm.
They don't. Many of them have shortened days. They go to work at 7 o'clock their time, and sometimes get off at 2 because they have like a siesta or they have an elongated break, and that is when the workday is over. So this is why we talked to you guys about having that formlessness.
Mm-hmm.
In a previous show when we were doing the 48 Laws of Power. You have to be fluid.
Yeah,
and you can't do things the way you're used to doing. You have to learn to do things differently. But when you do things differently, you get different outcomes.
This is very true. Assume formlessness, law number 48. One of the things, too, you have to understand, and like I say this often because I don't know the demographic that I'm actually speaking to, but one of the things about moving abroad, doing these different things, opening up these bank accounts, is, no disrespect to my people out there, but the younger people tend to be able to do this easier, right? And so if you're a little older and more rigid, used in your ways, it's a little harder to come off of the system that you've known for so long. So it might take a little bit more work if that is something that you want to do. Like we talk to a lot of young people, they're able to do these things. They don't have as many things holding them back. Maybe they don't own a home yet. They don't have as much debt. They don't have a family. So they can kind of move around and get these things done. And that is harder when you're older. If you have children, we have 4 children. It was very, very hard for us. Mm-hmm. But I'm glad we did it. We did it while we were still relatively young, even though we had a lot of children. Mm-hmm. But even that, if you have to wait till you retire, but if you're used to a certain way, it may be hard for you to just figure out how to do it another way. Just come off of the system of the United States that you've been so used to your whole life, right? So that's part of the experience. Like we say, we're not going to romanticize it. It's part of the experience. It could be hard. It could be frustrating. It could be scary, right? You don't really know what's going on. That's why I say, try to link up with people who are already doing the journey that you want to do. They can help you, but always do your own research, right? Because you never know what people are telling you is 100% true, right? But you want to link up with people who already are doing what you want to do. So, and that'll just help you kind of get through the process. But I wanted to run through these banks. I found them. So what they're saying, and we'll put this article in the description, they're saying some of the best offshore bank accounts you can get right now are international. They're not synonymous. They could be the same, but so you got Belize. Belize is a good place to start an account. Andorra, very small place, but it's a great place to start an account. Panama. Now, Panama still uses the U.S. dollar, so that makes it kind of a seamless transition. Singapore, of course, Singapore, you want to go to Singapore and start a bank account, but that's one of those issues where now you're talking about 12, 13, 14 hours ahead of you. So you have to be strategic and thinking about how you're banking with them and how you're moving your money around, as well as Hong Kong. So these are great places that are still U.S. citizen friendly.
Yes.
And will allow you to start a bank account. Now, there's going to be some amounts that you got to come with, probably some capital, some larger amounts of money, if you're comfortable with doing that. But these are stable countries, so you know your money just won't go away. One more country that they named, I don't know, Uruguay. So I don't know. Uruguay is a great country for citizenship and passport. I didn't mention Uruguay last episode. It's a great country to get your citizenship and passport in South America. They're very friendly to U.S. citizens. And so that could be a place where you could get the passport linked up with the bank account in Uruguay. And you can have a bank over there in Uruguay. Very nice, but it's very cost efficient, low cost of living, beautiful country. So people look into Uruguay. I think that's a good one. Belize is a good one. These are places that are cost efficient. Belize speak English, so that takes out that language barrier. You know, if you guys, a lot of people we talk to, they don't say it outright, but I can tell that the language barrier scares them. Whether you don't feel like learning a new language, you don't think that you can. So you got to look at other places maybe that still speak English, and that'll, you know, if that works for you, then that's great. So Belize is a great place. English speaking, close, hot, warm weather, you know, great food. Great place. We've been to Belize many, many times. It's right
place. Next door to Mexico.
Yeah,
so
it's really hot though. So
Belize though does have, for those of you who aren't so good with accents, my baby's from the Midwest. He's not great with accents. So sometimes he can't understand, even though they're speaking English, they have a patois Caribbean sing-song accent. It can be difficult if you're, you know what I mean, if you're not used to West Indians, Caribbean, and very strong accents. So I do want to put that disclaimer out there, because they may get there and be like, I know you're speaking English, but it don't sound like English.
Yeah, it's a little rough.
And with the patois, they mix other words in because it's a mixture of Dutch, French, and English. So it can sound very different, but beautiful country.
Yeah, I kept up with it. So other parts of banking, what else do we want to get in about banking? And other things you're going to have to worry about is, this is kind of ties in, how are you going to fund your banking, and how are you going to move your money around? And so you have to look into these banks and see your initial funding of the bank. Could be a wire transfer. Those are expensive, especially in other countries. If your initial funding is cash, right? So then now you have to deal with customs and immigration when you're taking a large amount of cash, right? I think from what I last knew, $10,000 is what you had to declare cash, right? But I've been in situations where I didn't have $10,000 and they still stopped me, right? I had $8,000, but it's in your pocket. I can't leave it in my carry-on luggage, you know. It's in my pocket. So when I go through, they know I have it. And now questions come, why are you taking $8,000 to Colombia? Even though I didn't have to declare it, but now there's questions. Questions of what I'm doing.
Asking that, Colombia, right?
I say questions of what are you black man doing taking $8,000 to Colombia? And so now you got to start answering questions.
Remember Cuba?
Yeah, that was just $5,000. So, hey, black man, why are you taking $5,000 to Havana, Cuba? Why? What are you doing, sir?
Because Cuba, this is something else you guys should know. Depending on the relationship between America and that country, like in Cuba, you cannot stick your Chase card into a Cuban ATM and get money. No. Canadians can do business with Cuba. Americans cannot. So you have to have cash when you go to Cuba.
Yeah. So I'll tell that quick story. I may have told it before, but hell, I'll tell it again. That was the same time we were in Cuba. She was pregnant. I thought I could go over there with a Visa card, and I said I took enough money to get there, last for a few days, and I said I'll hit the ATM, when we need some more money. So we went to the ATM. We're walking around everywhere, me and the kids, and I said I can't get any money out of these ATMs, and they don't accept Visa or MasterCard. At least then, it's been some years. I don't know now. Correct me if I'm wrong. And so I'm like, well, so where am I going to get some money from? And I said, well, I guess the only thing I could do is fly back to the United States and go to the ATM. So it's a 90, I don't even think it's a 90-minute flight. It's an hour. It's an hour flight. It don't cost me about $50 to fly to Miami. So you go, I got up early in the morning, got that early morning flight, flew to Miami, right? Took some money out the bank, had a flight back at about 2 or 3. So as I'm coming through customs, not only did I have $5,000, and we were going to be there for a while, they were saying, hey, you just flew in from Havana this morning to Miami, and now you're going back to Havana with $5,000. What are you doing, sir? And I'm like, oh, no, my family, we're going to stay over there for a while. I just needed some cash. And so, now they're going to be like, so now I start questioning me. So you're saying to me, you flew from Havana to Miami to use the ATM. And I'm like, it sounds crazy, but it was my only option. And so they were just like pressing me, asking me what I was doing. And somebody eventually asked me, was I a communist? I said, oh man, this is crazy. And then the one thing that the one guy, he got me on, he said, sir, typically when people travel internationally, they have luggage. And I was like, I can see how that looks. I can see how that looks bad. I can see that. But I said, I promise you, I did come over here to get money. Because I don't know anybody who could just wire me, because they do have Western Union down there. But I don't know anybody I could just call up and say, hey, man, can you send me 5 Gs and I'll get you back. Yeah, I'll get you back later when I come home from Cuba. I say, so, it was just a weird situation. Funny stories, but keep these things in mind if you're going to move through borders with assets, cash, however, because not only that, you got to protect it. Physically protect it. If you got $10,000 in your possession, you got to protect it. It cannot leave your side, right? You can't let people say, well, let me examine it. And you tell them about the time that dude had $40,000 and they was just counting his money. The customs agent, they just counting his money. And you got to stand there and watch him like a hawk count his money. They counted his money.
I was counting along with them, y'all.
Now, he was leaving Mexico to go back to the U.S., but they was counting all his money. And he just had to stand there. You got to keep an eye on your physical money.
Like that it was 2 officers.
Yeah, I never liked that.
Counted, because what they do is they create opportunity through chaos. They'll mess the money up a little bit, and all of a sudden, 40,000 is now 39,900.
Yeah, if you
know what I mean.
If you're missing a couple $100 bills out of 40,000, you might not notice it initially until you count it and you'll be like, damn. So yeah, remember when you're taking your cash somewhere, if it has to be physical, because some people want physical cash. Colombia wanted that physical cash. They wanted the real dollars. They didn't want a wire transfer of USD to COP. They wanted real US dollars.
We may have a segment of the audience who doesn't understand why dollars are so important in other countries and why it's so hard to get the settlement issues.
Oh yeah, because people want their debts settled in US dollars. We don't do any physical real business in Mexico. And one of the reasons is I don't want Mexican pesos. If we did business down here, I say I want my debt settled in US dollars. And they don't really have anywhere to get US dollars. They have to go buy them from the bank, but that costs money. And so it's not, it's hard to come across dollars, especially in large amounts. We're not talking about $500, $1,000, because if you owe somebody $100,000, I don't want 2 million pesos. I want $100,000, and then let me do what I need to do with the $100,000, whether that means put it in digital assets or some physical precious metals or something like that. But yeah, I don't want 2 million pesos. I want $100,000, even though it's the equivalent.
But countries have to settle their debts with their vendors, the imports, the exports, so on and so forth, in dollars when the country's currency isn't the US dollar. That's the point that we're trying to make. Like in Africa, the dollar is very, very difficult to come across. They still have debts that need to be settled in dollars. El Salvador, not so much, because El Salvador's currency is dollars. So that's why we're trying to explain to you how important you are when you travel and you're utilizing your US dollars in countries where the currency may not be the US dollar. It, at that point, becomes an asset.
And there's, outside of the banks, there's just straight up companies that sell US dollars. Just that's their business. They come dollars and euros, dollars and euros. So you go down there, you can buy US dollars. And you take whatever currency in the country you're in, and you exchange it, and you buy U.S. dollars. You see it at the airport internationally. It's just money. It's money exchange companies, right?
Mm-hmm.
You exchange. Usually when you're leaving, you're going to exchange your dollar for the currency of the country you're going to. But say you stayed in Mexico, you had a whole bunch of pesos, and you're like, I want to exchange them back for dollars before I go home. You got to buy some dollars.
And it's going to cost you money.
And they rip you off. I mean, they kind of...
You lose money on that deal.
You lose money on that transaction every time.
Anything else?
No, I just remember it, like I said, these flags they're not interchangeable, but they cross over.
Together.
They work together. So knowing that your assets, because you could have something like physical silver, and you can do business like that with banks. You know, you could use physical silver and gold as to get loans in other countries. So you might be traveling with physical silver. Assets, banking kind of coincide in these different countries. So also with your passport, right? So you want to have a certain passport so that you can do certain banking. You may not be able to bank as readily with your U.S. passport. So then if you have access to another passport, you can do banking, especially when the passport is within the continent. And I'm talking mostly about South America, Africa, but Africa is going to be more, it's going to be more like Eastern Africa, then there's Western and there's Southern, so, and then Europe and the EU. So if you have a passport for the EU, for example, you can bank about anywhere in Europe, and it's pretty easy. Just like if you had a passport for, say, Argentina, you can bank almost with anywhere in South America. And like I said, in Africa, it's going to be more Eastern Africa. So if you had a passport, regional, if you had a passport for Ghana, then maybe you can bank easier in that region, right? So keep in mind what passports you have access to, what passports you actually can get. If you're a large, if you have a lot of capital, you can get these passports by investment. If you have, like I said, if you have family members, you can get direct passports from them. Maybe being born in another country, you have access to that passport. In most cases, not all cases, but in most cases, if your parents were born in another country and you are what they call a first generation American, then you might have access to their passport. Mm-hmm. And, that takes a lot of work. It's a lot of paperwork. You have to have their passport. It's a lot that you have to do. It's not easy. None of this is easy at all. So I never want to make it sound easy. It's a lot of work. It's tedious. It gives you a headache. At least gives me a headache trying to do it.
It's very bureaucratic.
Yeah,
it's a lot of red tape. It's a lot of paper.
And like I said, once you start talking about a second language, it's like, oh my God, I got to talk about banking in Spanish. I got my Spanish I walk around every day with, but now you're talking about legal banking. You got to read documents because you need to read. You got to have the fine print. And this is why I will always say, have that lawyer on deck. Because you might have that lawyer, might need that lawyer right there. Mm-hmm. So, these are all the things. They all tie together. It's not easy, but it's worth doing. It's worth looking into. It's definitely worth looking into, especially if you have a large amount of capital and I don't want to say avoid taxes, but lessen your tax burden. Mm-hmm. We'll say it the proper way.
Well, that's our show.
We want to go into one more thing before I get it. One more thing, because I've received another email from a gentleman. He asked me about some of our top seven countries. And that's a hard question to answer because it's dependent on you, your lifestyle, your family, what you're looking for. So what I did do is I came across an article yesterday. I thought it was interesting. I came across that article and he asked that same question. So this is an article I have right here, and it is from News One. News One, I'm not saying I subscribe to News One or anything, but it's an interesting article. The article says 5 race-friendly countries for Black Americans who want to relocate. Okay, so let's go over these 5 countries real quick, and you guys tell us. So the first country they mentioned is Costa Rica. So we're very familiar with Costa Rica. We lived in Costa Rica. It is, at that time, it's been a while, but it was very race-friendly. The people were very nice. It was affordable. The prices have been rising up. It appears over the years.
The expat community have been raising the market price. So keep that in mind.
Yes, they also have a program for digital nomads. If you make a certain amount of money, they will give you residency.
Mm-hmm.
So that Costa Rica is very race friendly. I will say that in our experience, not a lot of police presence. In Mexico is a heavy police presence, but in Costa Rica, light police presence. You see a lot of expats, right? You see a lot of people, a lot of U.S. citizens, Europeans, Canadians. So I like Costa Rica. I'd advise Costa Rica for people to visit and check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Check Costa Rica out. It's not going to be as cheap as some of these other countries that you could go to, but it will be the infrastructure in the city is very good. Food was good and people are nice. It was a great place. So that's Costa Rica's one, and I will put this in the description. There is a business called Lifeaholic Costa Rica. So this is a business that actually focuses on helping Black U.S. citizens relocate.
Mm-hmm.
So that might be something people want to look in, check out. Costa Rica. Okay, let's go number 2. Number 2 is Ghana. So Ghana is what they're saying has currently 4,000 Black U.S. citizens living there. Ghana, from what I understand, like Costa Rica, is a little bit more expensive. If you were looking for a cheaper lifestyle, you might pick a different African country. But Ghana has first world amenities, right? And that's one thing when you're starting your journey out. You want to, if you've never lived anywhere else, you want to go to a place that has first world amenities. And the reason I say that because you'll go somewhere and you're not used to the way people live, and you'll essentially get homesick. And when I say first world amenities, it's simple stuff. Stuff that you were used to going to the store and buying without thinking, you can't even get in certain places, right? So you want to have first world amenities in the beginning of your journey. That way you can kind of transition easier without becoming homesick and saying, I want to go home. I can't stand it here. But they're saying Ghana also, Ghana is a beautiful place, great weather right there on the coast. So you got the beaches and everything. So Ghana is a great place, a great opportunity for Black U.S. citizens. And if you go on YouTube and you type in living in Ghana, you'll get a lot of vloggers and they'll give you the experience. So that'd be, something, go check that out. The third one they're saying is Senegal. So Senegal is also over there in Eastern Africa the east. It's on the western coast. I'm sorry, I get my back on the western coast right there. Beautiful place. We all know that entertainer Akon is going over there and building a city, a crypto city. He's pouring a lot of his capital into his home country. It's very beautiful country. They're saying also that the city plans to run entirely on solar power using cryptocurrency. So, hey, for our crypto investors, check out Senegal. It's also has first world amenities in the large city, but once you get out in what she likes to call the bush, I just say the frontier or something. Yeah, you might not have those large, those first world amenities.
No, ma'am.
Yeah, so that's a beautiful country. Akon has got a lot going on over there. Solar, we invest in solar, so that's something to look into.
But that's South Africa, our investment.
Yeah, but Senegal's something to look into, and you got somebody like Akon who's willing to pour his capital into the country and make it a better place for his citizens, his countrymen. Mm-hmm. So that'd be something to look into. Number 4, they are saying Colombia. So Colombia, we spent significant time in Colombia, Medellin. If I'm saying it right, Medellin is what they told me to say it. It's a great place, beautiful country, lots of culture and history. So Colombia, if I'm saying this right, last time I checked on the census, so Colombia has the 3rd most Africans outside of the continent of Africa, followed by Brazil, and then Colombia. So it's a lot of Africans. When I say Africans, they refer to them as Afro-Colombia, that Colombiano. Yeah, that's how they call them over there. You'll walk down the street, see somebody look just like you. But
don't speak a lick of English.
Don't speak a lick of English. They'll talk to you like, hey, you be like, hey, I don't even know what you said, bro. But it's all good. But it's a great place. It's very, very, very affordable. Very affordable. Have one of the larger financial hubs in the Americas and in Bogota. So that's a great place. Now, Bogota can be sketchy. So can Medellin, but they clean Medellin up pretty good. because of what happened in the 80s and 90s. They cleaned that up pretty good. But Bogota, still a great place. It kind of reminds me of Mexico City a little bit. It's very crowded. I mean,
Very similar.
yeah, densely populated. You got Cartagena on the coast right there where the cruise ships come in. That's more kind of like a tourist city. It's going to be a little more expensive. And then you got some other little cities that they have. Colombia does have its share of crime. Like you say, our good brother Timothy Reed was assassinated over there in Barranquilla, which is a smaller city. So you just have to be careful anywhere you go. You have to be careful anywhere you go. But Colombia has a fairly stable government, so you don't have to worry about that. And relations with the U.S. are okay. They're not horrible, right? They're okay.
They're not fantastic.
Yeah, they're okay. You can get by. You get through. Now they are very they're sticklers on your visa.
Yeah.
So you got to keep your visa in order, whatever type of visa it is. There's sticklers on that. So that's one thing to keep in mind. But other than that, nice place.
For those of you who don't know what that means, right?
Mm-hmm.
Means you cannot overstay. If they give you 30 days, do not stay 31 days. It will detain you.
Yeah.
So that's what we mean when we say you got to keep up your visa. It means do not overstay the allotted amount of days you were given by that country.
Yeah, Colombia gives you 90 days, and then you can renew for 90. But their rule is you can only stay in their country as a tourist 180 days out the year.
So you get two stays.
You get 2 stays.
That's it.
And they used to have, usually don't fine you, but you overstay, you get a fine, but the fines could rack up. It could get kind of expensive.
And you could possibly be detained.
So, just follow the rules as you're moving around these countries until you get your footing and figure out how you want to really do your residency. All right, our 5th one is Thailand. That's what they say. I don't know much about Thailand. But they say that, I'm just reading the article, they say that the people are very friendly to Black U.S. citizens. So that could be an option. It's on the other side of the world. They say also residents have easy access to affordable health care.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something else.
No. So,
it's Thailand. I thought you was going to say something else.
And they say healthy food. I don't know.
Oh, the food's delicious, y'all. I watch cooking videos.
They're saying
they throw down.
For the United States citizens, they say teaching English is a readily available job. And I don't know what it would pay. It's in Thailand, but
it doesn't pay much.
Okay, but if you look at that's what it doesn't really pay much. But if that's what you do, if you're a teacher, if you don't need if it's something you could do to boost your income, like, hey, I could teach English on the side and do whatever I do, however I get my money. So that's Thailand. I don't know much about Thailand. I never was big on Europe and Asia, and not that I have anything against Asia. To me, it was just it was the time zone. It's a time zone thing because a lot of the stuff we do, even with investing, it just throws everything around. Almost 12 to 14 hours. Also, we have family and we had older parents and stuff that we needed to be able to get back and forth to, fairly if we needed to, and that's all the way on the other side of the world. But there are a lot of Black people who live over there, not just Thailand, but I know they live in Vietnam. Where else they live at? Kuala Lumpur,
they said
Singapore.
Vietnam is Black people friendly.
That's odd. Okay, that's odd.
But they did. I read two articles about it. It's very Black people friendly. It's a new generation of people.
Mm-hmm. Vietnam has they have a relatively young mean age. Yeah. So it's a lot of young people in Vietnam.
And I got that from the cooking channel, y'all. Not the cooking channel, but like my little cooking shows I watch. It's very Black friendly. Yeah. So that was for my brother who sent the email. I don't have 7. I could name a few others, that we look into, but it really depends on your lifestyle and your family. Mexico, like we said, we might need to do Puerto Rico, even though it's not another country. There's some benefits to living in Puerto Rico, so you can look into that. What else? What other country was good? We like, I'm gonna say it wrong, Tanzania. Yeah, she always gonna correct me. Beautiful place. A lot of stuff going on over there. They have the capital, I believe, Dodoma. I'm gonna say that wrong. Dodoma and Dar es Salaam. So there's 2 cities over there that are kind of building back up. So that's a great place to look into. Tanzania. Now it's really far, so that's going to be on the east coast, right outside of Madagascar. It's pretty far away, but beautiful place.
Beautiful people, a lot of new commerce and stuff going up over their business. If you type in living in Tanzania, you'll find a lady, I can't think of her name right now. She's a doctor. She's a doctor, but she is from Ethiopia. But she's went over there and started up some businesses and, was helping build back up in the city. So Tanzania is a great place to look into, if you're interested. I mean, I can name a whole bunch of countries. What other country? Like I said, a lot of black people I see living in Portugal, Lisbon, Portugal. So,
and it's also a crypto hub now. So.
Yeah. So Portugal. Then we always talk about El Salvador. El Salvador. So that's a place to look into if you're thinking about, if a crypto friendly place.
And they use the dollar, so that's easy for a lot of people, right? Because I don't have to think. There's arbitrage there. Things are relatively cheap. And as he said, all first world amenities. Any restaurant you likely eat at in the United States is there. So don't go there if you're trying to lose weight, y'all. I'm just saying.
Yeah. So we could go on and on about countries, but these are places that we've studied, we've looked into, we've actually been to. We know people who are actually there and can tell us, boots on the ground, what's going on. Am I missing any countries? Who else we got boots on the ground with?
When we cut the film, we'll be like, oh yeah, we forgot this.
Yeah, I know, I forgot that.
That's all right, because we could always use the additional content.
Yeah.
But
yeah, so like I always say,
start there.
Questions, comments, show ideas, things that you would like to hear more in depth. That was just an overview of international banking. Wasn't really the nuts and bolts of it, because then you got to really, then it gets real nuanced and kind of complicated, and then the show would be probably too long and too boring, I would say. But if you have any more questions, let us know. Hit us up. We appreciate the comments and all the feedback. So, just keep it coming. We're going to keep it coming. So thank you guys.
We love y'all. Please share our content. That's how you guys can support us. Simon Family Investment Ventures will never sell you anything. We will never ask you for money. What we do ask for is for y'all to share our content, invite friends to watch our content. If there's something you don't like about our content, let us know. If there's something, additional, if you say you guys went over that, we want you to dig down deeper. We'll get our shovels out. We'll dig down deeper and do that show for you guys. So we love y'all. See y'all next week.